Hey guys, welcome to Through the Bible Verse by Verse, a plain and simple study of the entire Bible book by book, chapter by chapter, and verse by verse. And before we get through, don't forget to like and share this video. Subscribe to BP, the Bible Perspective. Hit that subscribe button. Remember, all comments are welcome. Now, we are in First Chronicles, and we are going through the genealogies. There are 9 chapters. The first 9 chapters is genealogies. So I'm going to quickly kind of recap and then go on. Remember first and foremost that the purpose of the genealogies is to show the bloodline of Jesus. The other genealogies serve as to, one, lead away from Jesus, the bloodline of Jesus, and then 2, establish Jewish genealogies. And during the time of the kings and stuff, it would have establish inheritance, whatever claims one had. So if you claim to be the Messiah, if you claim to be a king, then you had to establish that through genealogies. Okay. So let's pull this up. We're at verse 4, and last time we stopped with Noah's son. And remember, we went back and then we started with Adam. And again, I just wanted to say that, remember, from one man, Adam, came all of these genealogies. And of course, not only the genealogies, but the entire human race. Okay? So, verse 1 again, Adam, Seth, Enosh, Kenneth, Mahalalel, Jared, Enoch, Methuselah, Lamech, then Noah, Noah's sons. Now, what's different about right here is that we come to the flood, and remember, up until this point, all of humanity, everything that had breath was wiped out by the flood. Verse 4 begins with Noah, and then Noah's sons. So then we see the repopulation of the earth. Shem, Ham, Japheth. These were Noah's sons. And what we said was that so every race of people, every ethnicity of people came from these 3 sons. And I spent a little time saying, well, what did they look like? And of course we can't answer that because that's not the purpose of the Bible. The only reason why it became an issue is because when race and racism came into a play, which, by the way, racism and stuff came into a play just 200 or 300 years ago, with the advent of the Atlantic slave trade, and then you had certain Christian leaders who tried to use this kind of genealogy, and we're going to get to this in a moment as we read through, to show that black people were cursed with dark skin and that white people were chosen. Okay, yes, you had Christian leaders who actually taught this. All right, but let's go on and read. So it says Noah and then Noah's sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. By the way, Shem is the genealogy that we're going to be most interested in because that's the bloodline of Jesus. Then it said, verse 5, Japheth, sons, Gomer, Magog, Madiah, Juval, Javan, Tubal, Meshach, and then Tyrus. Again, not bothering to pretend like I'm pronouncing these names right. Gomer's sons, verse 6, Ashina, Riphalah, and Taguma. Java's sons, Elisha, Tasha, Kedema, Ridman, and then Ham's sons. And now, here's the interesting thing about Ham's sons is that people believe. Now, if you go through Genesis, and we're not going to do it here, but if you go to Genesis, I believe it's around chapter 9, you'll see where the belief that the curse, black people's dark skin was the curse. Now, people actually taught that, and believe it or not, there are people who actually believe that today. But it is Ham's son, verse 8, Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. Now, understand, right here, the curse was for one of Ham's son. You have to kind of go back and read the whole account as to why that came about. Ham saw his father's nakedness. After the flood, we had this scene where Noah got drunk, passed out. Sam went in and saw his flood. Now there's a whole lot of discussion in terms of what exactly happened. We're not gonna get into it there. Noah wakes up, realizes what Ham did, and put a curse. But this is what he said very specifically and prophetically: "Cursed be Canaan." So keep this in mind. The curse that people say that with dark skin was Canaan. So then of course you have to say that Cush, Mizrah, and Put were not dark skinned. It's silly. So the curse. Now the line of Canaan, they were evil pagans. Okay. So verse 9, Cush son Seba, Halava. Now Halava, by the way, is a very interesting. We see later on, probably the Assyrian kingdom come out of this guy. Sabta, Ramna, and Saptaka, Ramna's son, Sheba and Dedan. And this says Cush, and then it says Cush fathered Nimrod, who was the first to become a great warrior on the earth. Now, if you're reading the old King James, a mighty warrior before the Lord, okay, and it's kind of misleading if you don't understand King James English, but that's why I say the great warrior on the earth. The thing about Nimrod was he set up. You probably can trace all pagan religion. So an organized pagan religion starts with Nimrod here. 11. Mizah fathered Ludiman, Amna, Lebanon, and Naphtatuhim, Pathrithim, Cashalim, and then it says the Philistines came from them. So we get a little history here where the Philistines came from. And Caption. Now, by the way, this would be Ham's descendants. And then it says Canaan fathered Sidon as his firstborn, then Heath, the Jebusite, Amalekites, Hittites, Hiphites, Archadites, Sidonites, Arvadites, all the ites, right? The Hamathadites. All right. Now, here's an interesting thought right here. Watch this. I want you to know. Here's the interesting thought. So if you want to say, okay, notice that term Jebusite, that they lived actually in Jerusalem. So if you want to say that this is black people, just saying, I'm not boasting, because, by the way, they were very wicked people, okay, at the same time. Verse 17, Shem's sons, Elam, Asher, Aphrad, Lud, Aram, Uz, Hal, Kether, and Meshach. Now, understand, so right here, at this point in time, they're not Jews, but they are the bloodline of Jesus. Okay? Verse 18. Arapashad fathered Shelah, and Shelah fathered Elah. His two sons were born to Eber. One of them was Peleg, because the earth was divided during his lifetime, and the name of his brother was Jocham. Now, the term, this statement that we see in Genesis, and we also see it here, Peleg, because the earth was divided during his lifetime. Now, there are some people who believe that this is referring to the continental divide. So if you start off with Genesis 1, and then you see that the earth was one landmass, and so when we look at the earth today, the earth, by the way, earth simply means dry land. So the continent, right, the continental divide, continental shifts. Now, of course, if you get into paleontologists and the evolutionists, they would say, well, it happened millions of years ago. Some people would say it just happened during this lifetime. Okay, so at some point, it is believed, this is used to believe that the earth was divided, continental divide. I don't know if it's necessarily saying that. I can't rule it out, but I don't know if it's necessarily saying that. The idea of division also could have been just people. Okay. All right. Verse 20. Jocham fathered Abshah, Sheleph, Hermathavi, Jerem, Hodash, Deva, Dikla, Ebal, Abilam, Sheba, Orpha, Halaba, and then Jobab. All of these were Jochan's sons. Now we come to Shem. Now Shem is the ones that is the most important, okay? Because again, this would become the bloodline of Jesus, as we will see in a moment. Shem, Arpachshad, Shelah, okay? Eber, Peleg, Reu, Shuk, Nahor. Now Nahor is very important. Why? Because he fathered Terah and Abraham. That is Abram. That is Abraham. Now here's what I wanted to bring out with this. So we see Abraham's brothers, his three brothers, right? Let me see. Where am I looking at? Oh. Anyway, I want you to see how close Abraham is to Noah. Now, the reason why I say that, just as a way of interest, that if we're living in our time and we're thinking about the 14th century, now we have enough written history to put together what went on there. And so when you think about these times here up to Abraham, they lived longer lives than we. Abraham was almost 20 years when he died, but he was just not too many generations away from those generations that were living 900 years. And of course, you go back to look how close he is to Noah. All right, verse 28. Abraham's sons, and then it says Isaac, Ishmael. These are their families' record. Nebal, Ishmael's firstborn, Kedah, Abel, Mishtam, Mishma, Duma, Massa, Heda, Tema, Jetta, Rizpah, Kedah. These were Ishmael's sons. Now, remember, Ishmael was born of Hagar. The sons born to Keturah, Abraham's concubine. This would be Abraham's wife after Sarah died. Zeman, Jocham, Medah, Midian, Israel, Shua, Joksan's son, Sheba, Dan, Midian's sons, Ephah, Hedok, Eba, Elah. All of these were Keturah's sons. Now I'm reading these, just to show you Abraham's line that leads away from. And in verse 34, Isaac. It says, Abraham fathered Isaac, Isaac's sons Esau and Israel, Israel's sons Eliphaz, Reuel, Josh, Jello, Korah. Eliphaz's sons Tema, Omar, Zebah, Gateman, Kenan, and by Tina, Amalek, Reuel's sons Nimuk and Zerah, Shema, and then Mesa, and then Esau becomes the father of the Edomites. Now I'm not gonna go further with that. But you can see some of some of these names here that go on with Ishmael's line. Now, the basic thing is that they are designed to show the leading away from Isaac. Isaac is the one we're interested in because that's the bloodline of Christ. Chapter 2 says, these were Israel's sons, Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, Dan, Joseph, Benjamin, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. Okay, so these are basically the sons of Israel here. Okay, Israel, of course, was Jacob. God changed his name to Israel. And so now the nation of Israel was then populated through these 12 sons. And if you go back and read the story too, remember that they were a trip. They weren't the best of sons. Now, verse 3, Judah's sons, and so we're most, of course, interested in Judah's genealogy. Judah's sons, Ona, and Shelah. Now, these three were born to him when he went away, and he had moved away So if you go back and read the timeline of Joseph, when Joseph and they kind of sold Joseph, well, right around the same time, Judah, he went and he was gone for about 20 years. And during that time, these three sons were born to him. These three were born to him by Bathsheba, the Canaanite woman. Judah's firstborn, was evil in the Lord's sight, so he put him to death. Now remember, he pulled out. He was, in other words, when his brothers died, in other words, you see his brother. I mean, God puts him to death because of his evilness, and then his other brothers were put to death because they did not perform this keeping up your seed. And this law that they had was that if your brother died, in order to maintain his seed, then the brother would go and sleep with the sister-in-law, give her seed, and go back to his life. Well, he didn't want to do that, so he pulled out, and the Lord put him to death. Verse 4, Judah's daughter-in-law, Tamar, born Perez and Zerah to him. Judah had 5 sons in all. Now, Tamar was the son that Judah told him to wait, but then he kind of forgot about her. And then she acted like a prostitute, slept with Judah, and then bore Perez. Okay, verse 5, Perez' son, Hezron, Hamlon. And then Jerah's son, Ethan, Kola, and Dara. So now we see that verse 7, Kimer's son Achan, who brought trouble on Israel when he was unfaithful by taking things set apart for destruction. Ethan's sons, Era, Hera's sons were born to him, Jimar and Ram, Kimi. I'm going to skip down to this because I want to go to verse 11. Nishan fathered Salem, and Salma, and Salma fathered Boaz. So notice that right here. And then Boaz fathered Obi, Obi fathered Jesse, Jesse fathered Eliab. Now, by the way, Jesse is David's father. So these are his sons. Eliab, the firstborn, and Nadab was born second. Shemiah third. Nathaniel fourth. Rabbanah fifth. Omar sixth. And then David seventh. Now, here is an interesting thing here. You don't see this too often where women are mentioned in genealogies, but during the time, of course, women were in that. They just wasn't that important. Okay. Verse 16. Their sisters were Zeruiah and Abigail. Now, remember Zeruiah, when we went through even with 1st and 2nd Samuel, we saw Zeruiah's name a lot. And the reason why is because this was David's sisters. Actually, David had 2 sisters, Abigail and then Zeruiah. Now, what is interesting about this, look at this. So their sisters were Zeruiah and Abigail. Zeruiah's 3 sons, Abishai, Joab, and Esra. And we know Joab was one of David's, he was one of the most brilliant military generals, but he was wicked. And then notice this, Amasa's mother was Abigail, and his father was Jeter, the Ishmaelite. Now, what is interesting about this kind of family dynamic was that, remember, Amasa, and for some reason, David never felt he can get rid of Joab. I don't know if it's because of his family or because he feared a coup attempt or whatever. But notice these were actually his nephews. Joab did not care about the political, reigning or anything like that. He didn't care about that. But he loved being the military king. And whenever David would try to put him out, he would find a way to usurp authority. And he put Joab out and put his other nephew, Amasa, in. But Joab killed him. So, family reunions wasn't the greats here. Okay. But it's kind of interesting to again when you see Zeruiah and then Abigail, David's sisters, and then the fact that she's listed in this genealogy. All right. Let's see. I'm not going to read all of these. They continue on with some of David's sons. All right. So we're picking up a chapter 3 in the next study. And again, just kind of gems we get out. All right, guys, don't forget to like and share this video. Subscribe to BP, the Bible Perspective. And as always, if you have a thought or comment, add it to the comment section below. All comments are welcome. Hit that subscribe button. I'll see you in the next study.